And here now to discuss the failure of Senator McConnell and Paul Ryan to deliver on health care and the insistence of President Donald Trump that they not accept failure but rather rise above it. Joining us tonight, Kellyanne Conway, counselor to President Trump. Kellyanne, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Lou.
The president today at that extraordinary lunch making it clear this failure is temporary and success is within reach, and he intends these leaders deliver it.
That's right. Look, the president has done his job. He ran successfully on repealing and replacing Obamacare. He sits right behind me in that building, pen in hand, ready to sign into law a true repeal and replacement of Obamacare. It's up to the senators. Donald Trump's been here 6 months. They've been talking about this for 4 consecutive election cycles over 7 years. This should be easy, Lou. They know what they ran on, and they know this sucker is collapsing. You got 83 insurers leaving. You have premiums were supposed to come down by $2,500. They're up close to $3,000. Right. You have 40 counties right now, as you and I speak, that have no insurer. Over 1,300 counties that have one insurer, which isn't a choice at all. What this bill would do under the president's leadership is increase free market solutions, health savings accounts, use them to pay for your premiums. So many Americans say, look, I don't have access to health care. Even though I have an insurance card, the insurance card is not worth the paper it's printed on. I can't access it because the premiums are too high. The president is stabilizing the markets. He's got opioid funding in there. The bill has giving governors more flexibility. This is easy. These guys and gals ran on repealing and replacing Obamacare. If they're against the motion, a vote on no on the procedure is a vote on yes for Obamacare. And they're going to have to go home and explain that to their constituents. They're going to face a hail of fire back at home.
As we watch the president there hosting the 49 Republican senators with Senator Heller of Nevada next to him, jabbing him the whole way, good-naturedly, but pointing out that when he does go home, it's going to be hell of fire if he isn't on board. And the president looks so relaxed and so in command of that moment. This is a president, we were coming up on 6 months tomorrow as President of the United States, and he now looks more comfortable, more assured, and frankly more reassuring in that role, certainly than the national left-wing media will ever acknowledge or admit, but every other American will acknowledge. I mean, he is truly, he seems, even in the face of all of the strife around the failures of McConnell and the Senate GOP, he seems to be absolutely certain of himself and the direction we're headed.
Lou, I sat at that table today at that lunch, and for nearly 2 hours, it was very clear with the president holding forth in conversation who the leader of this effort is. He is in command and control of the conversation. And look, on the eve of his 6 months here in office, most of his accomplishments, which are considerable, were done outside of the legislative process through Congressional Review Acts, 14 of them, through executive orders and other measures. You're talking about withdrawal from TPP, Mexico City policy. You're talking about unleashing energy and the Maganomics, which puts us at 3% plus growth. We had that from the 1940s to 2007, and we've been settling for 2% or less since then, which is crazy. This president is going to put us on a path, 25 record highs for the Dow Jones since this president walked through the door. The stock market loves him, the consumer confidence, home builder, manufacturing, and the president knows that. He knows there's news, which people are seeing in their 401k statements and in their ability to spend more money, these businesses to expand, and he knows there's noise, the rest of the nonsense going on around him. But so many of these accomplishments were done by him outside of the legislative process. It's time for the legislature now to put on his desk the signature piece that they all promised, they all ran on. This should be an easy one.
Yeah, it should be. We all expected it would be, beginning with health care legislation in the House. But their Speaker Ryan and his leadership team made it far more complicated than it need be. As you yourself said, this should be easy, promising for 6.5 years they would repeal the Obamacare law, and then now suddenly a handful of people, at least 3 of them, are wilting before the very prospect of standing before their constituents and saying, I actually made health care better in this country and saved health care from Obamacare.
Yes, or there'll be the vote that sunk it. and they'll have a lot of explaining to do. The president made very clear today there are two great opportunities before them, and one is, and he's willing to take the leadership here, one is to do a really great thing for the country by getting the government out of the patient-doctor relationship by forcing 6.5 million Americans in 2015 to fork over $3 billion to the IRS rather than get into Obamacare, by lowering these premiums and deductibles and opening up choice again and access. And he also said it's a great thing for the party. Yeah. Country first, but party. In other words, look what happened to the Democrats. They were seen as invincible, and they started voting for stuff like Obamacare, these government programs, and they lost. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi lost her speakership. They lost in 2010, 14, and 16 based on this issue. Predominantly, look, and the president's moving on to tax reform after health care reform. We've been working on that here every day. He's got a lot going on. Beef is now being sold in China. Made in America week here at the White House has been extraordinary.
Renegotiating NAFTA in 1 month. That begins. That's pretty exciting.
The week of August 16th, the earliest that you could do it by statute, a USTR representative, Mr. Lighthizer, today announced he will start it week of the 16th.
Kellyanne, you're getting the hang of that Washington thing, aren't you? I mean, you've got the details.
We're draining the swamp. He's disrupting this place, though. This place runs on inertia, and he's the ultimate friction in a good way. He's kinetic energy, and I think some folks are learning to work with him. There's Washington speed and there's Trump speed, and they're very far apart.
Yes, that is about as wide a gap as there is in Washington, D.C. I'm watching Mitch McConnell, and I have to let you go. But watching Mitch McConnell today explaining some of the dull and dreadful details of it all, you compare that to the language of the president and the action of the president and all that the administration has accomplished to this point. It's quite something to behold. The president moving ahead. You think they're going to stay through the recess to get it done?
Well, they ought to if they're not
demanded.
Done. That's right. He did. He said we should stay. You should stay in town until we have a deal. This is what businessmen do.
They're going to do it?
Leaders do. Well, sure, they'd have to, right? The president has told them to. The other thing is let them pass health care reform, Lou, and then let them get on to this nominations process. 23% of the nominees confirmed when President Obama had closer to 60 or 60% plus. We've got this stopgap. The obstruct and resist movement, they're still wearing their pink hats, but it's hurting America.
Let me give you my view on that. It's time to show Senator Schumer what street smart, New York street smart, and brains and innovation is all about. And, just move it on, as it were.
And look, let me say one last thing about the health care process. If you're
wait a minute. How long is it going to take?
1 second. If you're a Republican senator and you don't like the bill, vote for the motion to proceed, take to the Senate floor, and say that. Offer an amendment. Ted Cruz went from being a no to a yes by offering his own amendment, which is part of this bill now. Very simple.
Yep. And as Senator McConnell, the majority leader, pointed out, they will be able to do exactly that.